Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the carnivore diet, but probably not in the way you're thinking. We're looking at it as a tool, a surprisingly simple and, believe it or not, affordable path to some pretty radical health changes. Let's get right into it.
Just let that sink in for a moment. Imagine not really sleeping for 2 straight years. That's a quote from a woman named Christina, and her story is really the heart of what we're talking about today. I mean, can you imagine the kind of desperation that would make you try something totally radical?
So let's unpack this. This is Christina's journey. It's a story about going from a place of chronic illness that was just debilitating to completely rebuilding her body from the inside out. Understanding her story is really the key to understanding the why behind this whole approach.
Look at this timeline. It wasn't just one thing. It was this awful domino effect. It all kicked off with SIBO, which led to her body not being able to absorb nutrients. That, in turn, led to a foot fracture out of nowhere, and then, bam, an osteoporosis diagnosis. When her doctor just wanted to put her on medication, she said no. She decided she was going to heal herself. And the results? They're pretty staggering. Less than a year later, she's actually reversing her bone loss and completely changing her body composition. It's wild.
Just so we're all on the same page, let's quickly define SIBO, since it's the villain at the start of her story. In simple terms, it's like having a traffic jam of the wrong bacteria in the wrong place, your small intestine. This mess causes bloating and inflammation, and most importantly, it stops your body from soaking up the very nutrients it needs to survive and heal. It's a really vicious cycle.
So the big question is, how does she pull off such a dramatic turnaround? Well, the sources we're looking at today boil it all down to 2 core principles. This is the how it all works. And you know what? It's way simpler than you'd probably guess.
Okay, rule number 1 is all about nutrient density. The idea here is pretty simple. On one side, you have foods like meat that give your body the actual raw materials it's been begging for, all those vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids. That's what makes you feel truly full. On the other side, you've got the processed, empty nutrient stuff that just fuels cravings and inflammation, because on a cellular level, your body is still starving.
So the whole game plan really comes down to this 2-step punch. First, you prioritize nutrient density. You give your body the high-quality building blocks it needs to start repairs. Second, you power up with protein. And this is so crucial, especially for maintaining muscle, which is your best weapon against things like osteoporosis, the very thing Christina was up against.
And we're not talking about some vague, just eat a bit more protein kind of advice. No, this is specific. It's a target. For Christina, at 5'6", her minimum goal was 130 grams of protein a day. And get this, it's based on your ideal body weight, not your current one. That gives you a really clear, actionable goal to shoot for.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. I can almost hear it through the screen. All that meat, that has to be crazy expensive, right? This is the number 1 question, the biggest hurdle for almost everyone. So let's just tackle it head on.
All right, this is where we get super practical. Because according to our source, being able to afford this isn't just a possibility. It can actually be a side effect of the diet. It's all about shifting how you think and how you shop. The proof, as they say, is in the shopping cart.
So how do you actually do it? Well, the strategy has a few parts. First, just think of all the stuff you stop buying. No more processed snacks, sugary drinks, or even tons of produce that might go bad. Second, you become a savvy shopper. You hunt for those sales and the manager specials on meat. Third, you make bulk stores your best friend. And the final pro move? Find a local farmer and go in on a cow with a friend or 2. And here it is. This is the stat that can completely flip the script on the whole cost argument. If you buy a pound of ground beef on sale, it can make a big, satisfying meal. That could work out to something like $2.50 per meal. I mean, when you think about how a fast food value meal can cost 4 times that and leave you hungry an hour later, well, it really changes your perspective on what's expensive. So what does this affordable food list actually look like? Well, the foundation, the real workhorse of the diet is ruminant meats, like ground beef, bison, and lamb. These are seen as anti-inflammatory and great for healing. Next up, you've got your nutrient powerhouses, things like eggs, salmon, sardines, packed with those amazing omega-3s for your brain. And finally, fats, like butter and tallow.
They're treated as a tool, kind of like a lever you can pull for more energy, not as the main course itself.
Okay, now for a really important reality check. The source is super clear that it's not a free-for-all. Not all animal products get a green light. There are some carnivore-friendly foods that can actually trip you up and stall your progress. It's what they call the slippery slope.
Which of course leads us to the two big ones, right? The foods everyone immediately asks about. They're technically from an animal, they're delicious, so what's the problem with piling your plate high with bacon and cheese?
And here is the simple, unvarnished truth about something like bacon. It's not that it's inherently evil, it's just that it is incredibly easy to overeat. For a lot of people trying to lose weight or reduce inflammation, that one factor can be enough to bring their results to a screeching halt.
So this leads to a really simple rule of thumb you can use. Think of your plate like a movie. The main meal, the star of the show, should be those super satiating, nutrient-packed foods like beef, lamb, and eggs. Then you treat things like bacon and dairy as the side characters. They're fine as a supporting role or an occasional guest star, but they shouldn't be the main event.
And with dairy specifically, there are a few reasons to be cautious. First, a huge number of people, something like 65% of the population, are lactose intolerant. They just can't process it well. On top of that, it can be inflammatory for a lot of people. And let's not forget, lactose is a sugar. For someone really focused on healing their body, any one of those things can be a pretty big roadblock.
At the end of the day, the most crucial piece of advice here is this. Focus on progress, not on being perfect. Don't stress about getting everything 100% right from day one. The goal is to start with those foundational, super nutrient-dense foods that are going to help your body heal. Get that right first.
And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it? We started this with a story of someone who couldn't sleep, whose body was literally breaking. And it just leaves you with this one powerful thought. What if the answer to that problem you've been struggling with, maybe for years, isn't something more complicated? What if it's just simpler? What if it's just about changing what's on your plate? Something to think about. Thanks for watching The Explainer.